We're live. Hope you're doing okay tonight. Please let me know in the comments where you are tonight. I'm in North Carolina on the beautiful coast here, and it's chilly. And we are going to be talking about a hot topic, and that is canine influenza. So the way I thought things would go tonight, I want to first of all kind of give you some of the updates on the outbreak. So I've got some slides. I'd like to go through the science behind CIV, what H3N8 and H3N2 and all those numbers and letters mean, and kind of give you some ways that you can protect your dog. I'd like to start by thanking my friends at dogflu.com. We're actually going to visit their website. I want to show you a few features of that website that I think are pretty cool. But I really want to thank my friends at dogflu.com for making this event possible. And again, it is a wonderful resource of all sorts of information around canine influenza. So again, I'm Dr. Ernie Ward, and hit me up in the comments. We will be taking your questions sort of after I get done with some of the scientific presentation here. And again, it's not boring science. It's just some of the backgrounder, because there's a lot of myths, a lot of misperceptions out there. I mean, I can't believe some of the crazy tweets and Instagram comments and Facebook questions that I've been getting around this. So I want to kind of set the record straight, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can to protect our pet loved ones, because this is an outbreak, and this is shaping up to be one of the more concerning outbreaks that we've had in recent history. Let's get on to the good stuff. What the heck is this canine influenza? We call it CIV. You'll also hear me refer to it as the H3N8 and H3N2 virus. And really what I want you to know from this particular bit of information is this. There are two distinct viruses that we're talking about when we are talking about the dog flu, the doggy flu, canine influenza, or CIV. Now, we first identified the strain H3N8 back in 2004, and that's the one that you probably heard about a lot. University of Florida colleague is the first one to isolate that, came off of racetracks, and it really scared a lot of us because we had never seen this type of virus before. But then it really got interesting in 2015, and that was when some dogs that were going to actually be killed for dog meat were imported or rescued, or whatever terminology we want to use, from South Korea, and they were harboring this virus. So basically, South Korea was having this super hot outbreak of a new unknown virus. These dogs got brought to the United States, and boom, this thing blew up. You guys probably remember it happened in the Midwest, particularly the Chicago area. I mean, wow, that was pretty scary. And so a couple of things that were unique about H3N2 was that cats were proven to also get and carry this virus. So if you are sharing your household with cats and you've got a sick dog, remember that the cat could be affected. There's also pretty clear evidence now that guinea pigs and ferrets can be infected with H3N2, so we're really, really watching this. If you're wondering what the H and the N stand for, it's a nomenclature term to tell us what is on the outer surface proteins. That's why these are both in the H3 class, and of course, the other part of their subset changes slightly. So that's the difference there. Again, I mentioned that H3N2 and that Chicago outbreak that was devastating up there that quickly spread to Atlanta. I've got a really cool animation I'm going to show you in a minute. But right now, the news we want to talk about tonight is what the heck is going on in California, the Midwest, the South, and all the way from Washington, D.C. up to the New York City area. So I got to tell you, we are really concerned as veterinary professionals. I want you just to look at how quickly this thing spread when H3N2 first came. What you're seeing right now is actually a heat map showing how this thing started, and within 6 months, how quickly it spread across the United States. Now, this is what worries us about living in this day and age, because we travel. We have dogs getting on airplanes. I mean, you can see that within 6 months of this virus being introduced into this country, it had pretty much spread throughout. So it's kind of a frightening graphic, if you ask me. Currently, H3N2 has been identified in 46 of the states. Not really sure what's going on in North Dakota and Nebraska, but maybe it's just a reporting error. But as you can see, this thing really, really gets hot. And I'm going to show you, when you go to dogflu.com, this is an interactive map. And so in just a little bit, we'll take you there. But let's get into the latest news. And this is the absolute most current news that we've got. Since this thing broke, the case 0, the first case, the index case in California, we've had over 180 positive cases. And that is a lot, because you have to realize that we don't test a lot of dogs for this. And for us to see 180 positive cases, that is quite remarkable. Northern California, around San Francisco, that's where it's really been the hotbed. But Fresno, Sacramento, we just had 3 confirmed cases in the Reno, Nevada area. And again, this is really, it seems to be expanding. So if you kind of look at those stats here lately, and I'll show you a map, but if you're in the Santa Cruz, if you're in the Fairfield, if you're in Sacramento, Fresno, I mean, this is an area that you really need to be concerned. And if you have friends in those areas, I mean, this is something to share with them on social media. They really need to take precautions. Again, this is from today. I want to thank our friends at IDEX.com. IDEX is one of the lab tests that actually does the H3N2 test for veterinarians across the United States and North America. And this is sort of where the latest data resides. And you can see clearly where the distribution lies. I mean, we're still seeing that Midwest corridor, the South around Atlanta. We're seeing, again, Washington, D.C., all the way up 95 there to New York, and of course along the California coast, particularly around San Francisco area. So really disturbing. Just a little more detailed data. Again, I'm sure that we can provide you with some of this stuff. This will be archived on Facebook, but if you really want to dig into some of these numbers, this is coming out of IDEX.com, and dogflu.com will also have lots of this information. But I just want to share with you, this is pretty significant, because since the end of 2017, we've seen a tremendous spike. Again, just diving in a little deeper from IDEX data of California, I mean, it's clear San Francisco is the hotbed. That is where the index case came from, down in San Carlos region, and it has spread outward there around San Fran. And of course, now we've seen a hotbed popping up around Fresno. So again, if you live in these areas, you really need to take this seriously. And I'm sure your veterinarian is as well. So who's at risk? I mean, this is not science here. This is any dog that gets around another dog. If they go boarding, if they go to a doggy daycare, if they're out at, the dog park, if you take them to the pet store, if you go and do dog training or even nursing, you go and visit, hospitals or nursing care facilities. I mean, this is a real issue for us. We're seeing lots and lots of dogs get contaminated, getting infected from going to the groomer and dog shows. In fact, most of these outbreaks have sort of started in many instances around dog shows. But, if you just walk your dog, they're at risk. How is it spread? And this is important to know, because coughing, sneezing, barking can propel these respiratory droplets up to 25 feet. Yeah, you heard that right. 25 feet. Your dog coughs, sneezes, barks. Those droplets carrying millions of viral particles are now going to infect the next dog. And remember that nearly every dog that is exposed to this virus is going to get it. I mean, it's nearly 100%, because their immune system has never seen it before. There's absolutely no protection unless they've been vaccinated against the H3N2 and or the H3N8 strain. So guess what? They're going to get it. Of those, 80% will go on to develop clinical signs, and 20% will be asymptomatic and spread that virus for up to a month. So this is serious business for us in the veterinary world and the dog lovers out there. Direct, nose-to-nose contact. So if your dog's out there and they're rubbing noses, I guess the whole point of this, because you can get it from bowls and bedding and toys, and somebody walks in your house or your dog walker, you've got to prevent this. You absolutely, there's no choice with this issue. We have to prevent it. Again, let's just go over some of the data here. H3N8 is shed for up to 5 days after the onset of illness. Now, that means that once they start showing signs, they're still shedding this virus for 5 days, whereas the H3N2 is shed up for 24 days. Now, remember, the H3N2, the one in red, is the one that has us most concerned. That's the new one that originated in South Korea, came over in 2015, and it can be spread by an infected dog for nearly a month. H3N8, the older version, fewer viral fewer viral particles were shed. And of course, the H3N2, the new hot virus, more. Slower for the old form of dog flu, faster for the new version. I mean, everybody likes something new and improved except for infectious diseases. What are the signs? Sadly, they are non-specific. I have seen dogs, as many of my colleagues, that have come in just lethargic, just not eating, had a low-grade fever, and they had CIV when tested. Of course, the classic are the upper respiratory signs: coughing, sneezing, discharge from the nose and the eyes. It really breaks into two different distinct clinical forms. We have this mild self-limiting, and that's the common one. I mean, most of these dogs are sick for several days, but with palliative care, they do fine. The other dogs, though, develop the severe form and develop pneumonia and death. So, yes, we've seen deaths in dogs, older dogs that have a comorbidity or pre-existing condition, young dogs. I mean, this is a serious condition for anybody. But I really, really, really want to impress upon you that, most dogs, they get better like you with the flu, but a few are going to die. And that's just how it is. When we are faced with any of these types of signs, we look at it as called the canine infectious respiratory disease complex. You'll hear veterinarians talk about CIRD. And we've got to rule out a lot of diseases. That's why your veterinarian is going to ask to test your dog if it's displaying any of these types of symptoms, because we don't know if this is Bordetella, which is the old kennel cough, Mycoplasma, which we see still tons of that bacterial infection, or if it's canine influenza or para-influenza. So again, you can see our job is pretty difficult when it comes to ruling this out. Again, just sort of looking at those incubation period and survival and post-shedding. I mean, you can see when we compare H3N2 with some of the others, I mean, it's a pretty robust pathogen. I mean, it really is up there with distemper virus. And, if you're old enough to remember what distemper did, and I'm just barely old enough, when I was a child, I mean, distemper just came through and destroyed entire neighborhoods of dogs. So, yeah, not that this is of the same level of mortality, of course, but, it's still a highly, highly pathogenic virus. We got to prevent this. And the key right now is vaccination. The only way that we can prevent it from spreading through boarding facilities, through dog parks, through dog shows, you name it, is to vaccinate more dogs. I mean, the reason I'm coming to you tonight is simply because we are so concerned that we do not have that quote unquote herd immunity in our country, meaning that we don't have enough dogs protected, so it's not as big of an issue. This thing is spreading like wildfire because not enough dogs are protected. We've got a vaccine now that can do it. The great news is we have a bivalent vaccine that can actually protect your dog against both of those strains, the H3N8 and the H3N2, which is the new super concerning one. So you've got to make sure that you're doing this. I mean, you can't use the vaccine to treat. A lot of the questions I've been getting the past couple of years have been, okay, my dog is starting to act sick. Can I just vaccinate it? Will it make it, will it cure him, or will it somehow attenuate the disease course? It will not. It will not. You have to vaccinate prior to exposure. It does require 2 doses at 2 to 4 week intervals, and you only have protection 2 weeks after that final dosage. So you need to do this now. If you live in an area that you haven't seen CIV outbreak, now's the time to take precaution. I mean, I really can't stress that enough. This vaccine is highly effective. I mean, it really, really works incredibly well and is safe. And so, you've got to do it because you can see you've got to do these 2 doses. And so it's going to be at minimum a month before your dog is actually protected. And then, of course, once a year after that. And I don't see any time in the near future, that we're going to say don't vaccinate. This is a great resource. I love this website, dogflu.com. I would encourage you to bookmark it, share it with your friends, because it really has a wealth of information. Whether you're a veterinary professional, or a pet owner, or dog show, groomer, whatever, this really kind of goes through the nuts and the bolts of how CIV works. Love this map. I mean, you can check it out. This sort of shows how quickly it has spread. I mean, you can just see it just continues to go for wildfire. This is where I really like it, the latest update. So you really want to be checking out this. This will give you all about, let's see, I think Outbreak map. Sorry, I went there. States with, so you can dive in deeply. You can look at different states. Again, started back in '07 down in Florida, and now we are faced with this, which is really yucko. All right. So I really want you to make sure to visit dogflu.com. Without a doubt, this is the best resource on the internet. Vets not carrying the vaccine. On the dogflu.com website, if you go to find a vet, and there's actually, you can enter in your phone number or address, whatever you like to do, but it will actually show you the veterinarians in the area that have already signed up and are telling the world that they are vaccinating against this. I